So I'm going to take a break and give him an opportunity to ask some question about his legislation. Councilmember Deutsch.
Yeah, thank you. So, good morning, Commissioner.
Hi.
So I was unclear from your testimony if the Department of Aging supports the 1185. Can you collaborate on that?
I think the answer to that is that we don't. Particularly because we don't see it as our role or function, as we are charter mandated. And I can actually call on some of my sister agencies to help with the response to that. Hey, you want to come up here? Thanks.
Good morning. My name is Eli Frescas. I'm from the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities. We work closely with New York City Emergency Management on supporting public outreach for people with disabilities in disasters. I don't believe emergency management was available today. I think they are busy at work given the hurricanes that are currently impacting Puerto Rico, etc. So what we do at the Mayor's Office for People with Disability is we link many of the resources that are available to constituents with disabilities in emergencies. So we do have links currently on our website to emergency management that gives information for LSE customers.
So define to me people with disabilities. If someone is disabled in a wheelchair, let's say, they're not in life-sustaining equipment. But if someone is in a hospital and they just got discharged with life-sustaining equipment, so what do you consider that? People with disability?
A person who's utilizing life-sustaining equipment is a person with disabilities, most likely.
But you wouldn't have that person on your list if that person was not a person with disability, but ended up in the hospital and just came out, got home, and is on a life-sustaining equipment. So it's not something that the person was disabled all along that you would know who he or she is.
No, we would not. That's the responsibility of the utility company, PSE&G, Con Edison. They are the ones
So you're saying, we just had a brownout a few minutes ago. So Con Edison is not reliable. So when it comes to services, we have blackouts and power outages and brownouts like we just had all the time. So if we cannot rely on Con Ed when there's a storm, if there's high winds, so how can we as a city rely on Con Edison to do outreach to people who will in return give them a lot more work, and for them to register that their address, their home address, has someone who's on life-sustaining equipment? So don't you think it would be the city's responsibility, Department of Aging, to do an education outreach? I never heard anyone say that there's too much education. When you talk about OEM, they do a phenomenal job, excellent job. But if you ask anyone in my waterfront district that if they look at one of the pamphlets the OEM gives out, which is excellent, has a lot of resources and everything, but it doesn't single out when someone's in life-sustaining equipment. It could tell you that you must evacuate. It could give you information, go find prepare yourself and have that in case something happens, you should go to a family member, stock up on food. But when it comes to someone's life, if someone's in life-sustaining equipment, and that person is home, and many of the seniors have families that live out of state, out of the country. Many seniors I know in my district don't have family. And when you're talking about a young adult who's, you mentioned in your testimony that it doesn't have to be a senior, but chances are someone that is younger that ends up in life-sustaining equipment, they have family members, they have brothers, they have sisters, they have children, they have aunts, uncles. And many seniors are just left alone, and they don't know, and they can't fend for themselves. And we as a city must protect them, must stand up for them. And I think that having an outreach to seniors and people with disabilities, and to everyone actually, but in particular seniors, that this is what you should do. Very simple. People get scammed every single day. We have an outreach that if you receive a phone call that we just kidnapped your grandchild, right? Don't send the money. Call 911. And why do we do it to seniors? Because they are the ones that lose $5 billion each year in the United States of America because they fall for these scams. We're talking about someone's life. During Hurricane Sandy, we had a life lost in my district. I don't want to see something like that repeated. So you're talking about OEM. Does OEM have this outreach in 10 different languages? Can you answer that?
So I can't speak for OEM, but I can speak to what we link to in our MOPD website, Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities, and we link to their Access and Functioning web page that also has information on my emergency plan and really about community outreach through Ready New York. So again, I can't speak for OEM, but I know that they have a very robust outreach where they do go out to the community to do these events for personal preparedness for people with disabilities.
So what specifically does it mention in the pamphlet or what you're talking about that already has this outreach? And what specifically does it say?
So New York City Emergency Management, and again, I can't speak for emergency management, but from the brochures that I've seen and what we support on our website at the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities is the My Emergency Plan, which gives lots of information for people, everyone really, but also people with disabilities on how to prepare for disasters. It has information about making sure that you have your medication, that you have doctor's information.
Does it mention that you should register your home address with Con Edison if you're in life-sustaining equipment?
Yes, it does.
It does mention that?
Yes.
And in how many different languages?
I don't know, but I know that they have a very robust language access protocol at Emergency Management. When I've spoken with them, it seems like they've had every brochure that we've ever needed here at the Mayor's Office.
How often do you give out this brochure?
Well, we have it in our office that we give out to everyone whenever they come by, if they're our constituents.
So first, you mentioned that it's on the web. Many seniors don't have computers to look on the web. Many seniors in New York City don't speak English as a first language, so you don't have it in 10 languages. You also said that you have in your office. So I know that my office is in my district, and if a senior or a person with disability cannot come down to my office, I would have a staff member visit them, because who's going to go to your office to get this information? Do you have a number of people that you could tell me right now, statistics of how many people actually go to your office to pick up a pamphlet?
So in addition to people coming by our office, which, you know, it varies from day to day, I would say it's within 20 people or 30 people.
How many people live in the city of New York?
And so...
How many seniors are there in the city of New York?
That's a question for DIFTA.
How many people with disabilities are there in the city of New York?
There's roughly 940,000 people.
940,000, and you have 20 people that come in a day?
That come through our office, but
That's
just one way of doing outreach. And again, this is a question for emergency management, and they're Ready New York people who go out into the community. They do literally hundreds of events each year.
So if
for
someone,
example,
it's when you give information that someone should prepare themselves and go out and buy food, that's pretty common sense, but you need to remind people. When you tell people they should evacuate, right? Now, after Hurricane Sandy, people would be a little more proactive, but you always need to remind them. But, you know, and many of the things you mentioned in your pamphlet, it's like a reminder to them. It's common sense stuff, but we need to remind them. It's always good to remind people. But when someone needs to register with Con Ed and you don't know about it, you're not reminding them. You need to do education outreach and tell them that this is what you should do.
Just the comment here, though, is, you know, on our website we currently have links that link up to the utility providers in order to get the LSC information.
Many people don't have computers.
Right, but that's within the bill. So I'm just saying that we already currently do that.
So
And may I add to that, DFTA has an entire unit on emergency management run by Assistant Commissioner Linda Whitaker, and we do hundreds and hundreds of outreaches every year. Right now, if you come into our office, the whole reception area is devoted to Ready New York and the whole month of preparedness, and we partner with NICEM to go to senior centers, and we do collaborative presentations
So I have a
on
question.
emergency
If you
preparedness.
do a poll today, how many seniors are in the city of New York?
Over the age of 60, 1.4 million.
1.4 million. And you have about over 900,000 people with disabilities. So if you did a poll today to the 1.4 million seniors and over 900 people with disabilities, asking them about if they know about registering their home address with Con Ed, if they're in life-sustaining equipment, then in case there is a power outage, Office Emergency Management should know that they must have emergency services respond there, and Con Edison would then in return know that these are the areas we need to turn back on the electric and make it a priority. How many people do you think would actually know that?
I think people who are on life-sustaining equipment know that.
People that are on life-sustaining equipment, but if someone comes out of the hospital, right, and the hospital does not do the outreach and does not tell people to be in life-sustaining equipment, so if someone comes out of the hospital and he's out of the hospital for a month or two, right, or 3 months, they may not know that they should register their home address. Because I know I've spoken to people who are in life-sustaining equipment and they weren't registered with Con Edison. And this is so important because OEM, it already exists. OEM, currently, if there's a power outage in any neighborhood due to a windstorm or hurricane, they already know to call Con Edison and get this list of all the people that are on life-sustaining equipment. It already exists. Everything is already in place. I have seen it firsthand, and I'm constantly speaking to Commissioner Esposito, and the first question that I ask when I call OEM, when there's a power outage, when I call OEM, I said, how many people are in life-sustaining equipment? And they have the answers to it. This whole thing already exists. What doesn't exist is the outreach to the people. If we need to lose one life because someone does not know that they should register the home address with Con Edison, then shame on us. I personally called up Con Ed to see how long it takes to register, and it took under 2 minutes just to go through the process to register someone. And all we need to do is education outreach. It's going to cost the city some money, but this is going to a good cause. And I do think that the Department of Aging and your office should be proactive and be involved in this education outreach in 10 different languages. Because how many people that don't speak English as a first language, how many people do you think know that they should register with Con Ed? Because the material that you are sending out, the people you are sending out in senior centers, which we appreciate, do not speak 10 languages. And I have a very diverse district, we have a very diverse city, and the fact that everyone came in here with the mindset saying, I'm not supporting this, and not having the information, because you said OEM is not here, we're not having that information, is just unresponsible. Because we're talking about lives, we're talking about our seniors, and seniors are living longer. So chances are that I just went to a birthday party, actually went to 3, 100-year-old constituent, 101 and 105. Seniors are living longer, we're fortunate for that. And chances are, as they live longer, we hope that they don't end up in life-sustaining equipment, but many of the caretakers don't speak English as a first language, so the caretakers wouldn't even know. So I really don't understand how everyone comes here with the mindset saying, I'm not supporting this. This is people's lives.
I just want to clarify that.
We have, unfortunately now, with what's going on around the world, and now in Puerto Rico, right, this could happen anytime here in New York City. If you walk outside today, it's very windy. Trees are coming down. You'll have plenty of, I could go on the Con Edison website to see how many power outages there are. This is a bill that we all need to support, whether you're a senior, whether you're a young adult. We all need to support this. This is really, my favorite line lately is unacceptable for us not to support our seniors and our people with disabilities who are in life-sustaining equipment.
So just to clarify for the record, we absolutely support doing outreach and education and making people aware of the opportunity to register if they're on life-sustaining equipment.
This is
We are
definitely,
not supporting legislating that because we think we're doing a good job, and I'm sure we can do more. And now that you've highlighted the issue, we will make sure that we continue to do more in this area.
so again, OEM has a plan in place. You are doing outreach,
We work
and I
with
thank
them
you for
and
that.
we do our own outreach,
But
yes.
I don't agree that we have enough outreach. I think that we do need to legislate sometimes to make sure that this outreach is done. We have outreach all the time. We have voter registration outreach. We have outreach in different languages for people to go out and vote and what they need to do. We have outreach all around the city where it's legislated. We do legislate because the reason why we put in bills is because we don't feel that enough is being done. And this bill is very crucial because of not only what's going on around the world, and we see it happening. And I have personally been making phone calls to people that I know in Florida and other areas, and other parts of the United States, to see how they're doing. And you know, if we're making phone calls, it's not just me. People all over New York City making phone calls to relatives, to friends, to acquaintances, people they know. They care about those people. So we need to care about the people in the city of New York too, and make sure that yes, if we feel there's not enough outreach, and I could tell you if you do a poll today, right, people don't know. Because they'll be surprised. Oh, how come I wasn't told about this? Why do we have to do outreach so people should put smoke alarms in their homes, right? Because you want to prevent a death. And we need to do outreach. Is the fire department doing enough outreach? They do plenty of outreach, but it's always not enough. I never heard anyone say that we have too much outreach and we need to do more. So I still don't understand that why the administration is not supporting this bill. It's a common sense bill. It's pretty simple. And I think our taxpayers will support something like this and not spend money on other nonsense. And this is an important bill, and this bill will save lives, guarantee you. So I'd like to get the administration support. I think this is totally unfair for everyone to come in here and not supporting this bill and have the mindset by saying, no, we're not supporting this bill because we do enough education. Do schools do enough education? We could always do more. Do senior centers do enough education? We could always do more.
Councilman Deutsch, can I just,
I'm not going to stop until I get the commitment. I have all day. It's a holiday tonight. I'm willing to stay all day.
but I wanted to help you with that.
I'm going to be here till sundown.
I'm going to help you with that because according to the mayor's management report, the Department for the Aging promotes, administer, and coordinate the development and provision of services for older New Yorkers to help them maintain independence and participation in their communities. Now, we're not talking about just emergency. Yes, OEM, they do their part. But there are seniors who, as the council member said, might have just came out of the hospital, or all of a sudden, because of some health reason, they have to use some special equipment that relies on electricity or whatever. And we also have some not so good landlords who, in harassing, resident, can do something to disrupt utilities and things like that in the building. So it's so important for seniors and people with disability to know that they should register. And I agree with the council members. We can always do more outreach, especially for a lot of the homebound seniors who don't go to the senior centers and seniors who don't have computers. So there are a lot more that we can do.
Response?
I agree that we could
Thank you.
do more outreach.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you for your support. Now, can we get your support?
I did not support the legislation. And we cannot do outreach and be responsible for all New Yorkers. We're a small agency with a small budget. The legislation does not specify just outreach to seniors. And homebound seniors, should they be on our case management program, clearly in emergencies, we do tremendous preparedness to make sure that all our homebound are prioritized, that the frailest of those have whatever supports are in place, and would certainly educate about being on life
So this bill is not to send out a mailer to 1.4 million. It talks about going to senior centers, doing education outreach in senior centers, in NORCs, in the libraries, in other areas. But so it's not going to be that costly to have this done in 10 languages and to do, you're already doing outreach in senior centers and everything else. And this is just having another piece of paper, another flyer doing outreach by bringing in additional information, which you're already doing, right?
Yeah.
And this is just bringing additional information to senior centers and NORCs and libraries and other areas where you're already doing outreach at that location. So I don't see how this is going to cost, this is costly because everything is already being done. This is just giving another piece of information separate from everything else to let people know that this is what you should do.
All right, I mean, the information, and I can share with you what's on the Office of Emergency Management's website.
Yeah,
It's
many
very
seniors
specific.
many seniors don't have computers.
Well, we share that information in Ready New York. That is already, and it's in multiple languages. That is what we use to distribute, to educate people about the opportunity
So
to.
I would ask you if it's possible, if you could do a poll and just as you have people going around to different things, how many seniors would know that this is what they have to do? I mean, to me, this is very simple and really common sense. And everything's being done. OEMs are already doing, we're not mandating OEMs, okay, you must work with Con Ed. They're already doing that.
Right.
We're not asking you to do anything special more than you're doing now. You're already doing outreach,
Yeah.
but this is to expand that outreach by giving them separate information that this is what you need to do because of the many power outages that we have and all the storms that's been going on now. And it's common.
Need to work with you and meet after this hearing if you feel that we need to develop a separate outreach piece of material. I'm sure that's something we could work on with emergency management.
But this is something that I would like to see that will continue. That once this bill passes, I'm hoping it passes. And I'm hoping this comes into, I'm hoping to get the administration to support this bill. But I think it's really unfair that, this is not going to be costly unless you have numbers right now telling me how much it could cost. I'm sure you don't have that if this bill passes. Do you have any numbers of how much this bill would cost?
No.
If it does pass? If it should pass? So, we're in the hearing here, we don't have information about the OEM stuff that we spoke about. We don't have information of how much this would cost if it should pass, right? So how can we just throw things out saying this is costly, we're already doing this? We do have this information in some book that has 50 other things in there that are mostly common sense stuff that you're reminding people about. We don't have all that information, so how can we even have a hearing on this bill today if we don't have that information and by everyone telling me we're not supporting this? Anyone?
I can only really speak towards what the Mayor's Office of People with Disabilities do. And we work very closely with New York City Emergency Management in all facets of emergency management, particularly community outreach. We do fairs, we do symposiums, we do working groups. We work with them on a myriad of different approaches and
When was the last
outreach.
time you had a fair in my district?
I don't know.
You don't have that, so you don't have any information today at a hearing when we're hearing my bill. So if you're going to say
That's a question for emergency management.
If you're going to say something, you need to back it up.
I was
So
when
if you
was the
tell
last-
me that we have
But I mean,
50 fairs,
I just find that
health
it's-
fairs throughout the city at this and this time. And
all the work that we do at
reach
the
out
mayor's
to
office.
thousands, tens of thousands of people. If you don't have any stats, you don't have any, it's all talk. You don't have any.
Again, I can only speak towards what
Back up.
the mayor's office does. And we do a number of community outreach events with New York City Emergency Management. We're committed to it. We believe in what's called whole community planning.
I'm going to ask you again, when was the last time you did an outreach?
And I'm going to tell you again, I don't know your particular district. I will say that literally 2 weeks ago, we
You
were
have
out
a number
at
of how many outreach, how many?
We were at a
what-
community event in Staten Island 2 weeks ago. I speak with emergency management daily.
So
on
you went
community
to
outreach.
you went to Staten Island, you speak to emergency management daily, so, but I still don't think you do enough outreach because you can't answer the question in my district, and that's why we need to legislate that this should be more outreach and education.
That's not part of the legislation. No, the legislation here asks for us to put information about LSE through the utility companies on our website, which we already do.
And to do outreach to people in neighborhood Norks.
That's a question for DIFTA, that's not what's in the legislation.
Councilmember Deutsch, we have a few more panels. They don't have the information that you need.
I would like
think
to-
that
I
we're
would like-
asking the mayor's office, who's here today, set up a meeting with Councilmember Deutsch, because as with any legislation, there's got to be discussions, right? So you know that he is
Happy
the
to meet
sponsor of
with
the
you,
bill.
happy
So-
to talk about what we're doing and identify if you
So
think that there are
okay,
gaps.
I would like to know, I would like to discuss offline then how we could support this legislation, how we can make it work. And since you don't have the numbers, or maybe we could have another hearing on this bill.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. We've been